Hi everyone, my name is John Peeveler. I'm back with the National Animal Care and Control Association. Welcome to our next video in our series on professional animal handling. In this video, we're going to be talking about leashes, we're going to be talking about gloves. As you can see, as in most cases, we have a whole lot of equipment, and we'll talk about maybe what the best options are or what the most appropriate options are, but then we also understand not everybody has everything that they would like to have. So we'll really talk about those fundamentals, what is important, when is it important, and how can you make do with different things. We'll just try to expose you to a little bit of everything and help guide you to be the best professional that you can be. All right, so let's get started with leashing. I think leashes are pretty familiar to people, but there are a few different types. There's a few different constructions. I think there's a few features and a few things you can do with them that maybe not everybody's aware of if you're brand new to the industry, and it's always good to just take a deep dive and see what's available. So starting with our basic sort of flat webbing, this is the more sort of disposable end. You can usually buy these in bulk in like 25 packs and things like that. So great to have tucked here or there. Tend to be kind of short. This is also that disposable type. This is more of a woven plastic. Very, very short, so not a whole lot of functionality there, but it goes over an animal's head and it holds the animal. Sometimes is all you need. Keep going on NACA here. Poor dog's wearing so many leashes. I've got a cable leash. You'll see this called the ACO's friend sometimes. It's a steel cable wrapped in plastic. It's pretty straightforward again. The benefit of the cable lead is that it does hold its shape pretty well, although it can get kind of bound, but that's true of any leash. So it holds its shape well, and that's, for me as a field professional, the most important part of any leash is just that I can get it on quickly, because sometimes you only get one chance. Once you start to make contact with an animal, that may be the only chance you're going to have to get that close to that animal. So I think it's important that it holds its shape well. But I think a big disadvantage of the cable lead is that it's small, it's tight, or when it's tight, it's going to put a lot of pressure, make an animal pretty uncomfortable. So that could be a little more aversive, which can have some negative consequences for you and for the animal. So keep that in mind. Doesn't mean you shouldn't use it. I've used it throughout my career. All right, let's talk for a second about the rope leashes. These are what I prefer. I think they feel really good in the hand. They have a lot of durability and a lot of flexibility, versatility. So this is the Field Professionals Handling Leash from Tomahawk. I've also got the Rescue Tech from Animal Care Equipment and Services. So just an idea of where you can get these things, and a lot of these different options are available from both companies and from several other companies as well. The benefits of these two models is that the handle does lock in place. So it's got a pretty simple trigger snap. So you can use that as a regular leash and connect to a collar. You can also use it as an adjustable handle. So anywhere that you set that along the length of the leash, it's going to lock in place, which means that it's adjustable for length. So it starts with an 8-foot piece of rope, and you can adjust it as you need to. The slip lead is the most commonly used function for any type of field work. It does have a cord lock. There's all sorts of different locking mechanisms on different slip leads, different manufacturers, plastic and leather and whatever. All that does is keep the ring from falling off. So once it's applied, if there's ever slack on the leash, it doesn't end up falling off of the animal's head, which would not be ideal. So that just slides down on whatever model of leash you've got. So I'm going to keep removing some leashes so I can work a little better. This is the Shelter Tech from Aces, which is a more standard slip lead, but still with the higher quality rope, again, for that quick application. It's going to hold that shape really, really well. So what we're doing here is with an animal who is posing a risk to us. We're keeping the animal away from our body by what I would call choking up on the leash, and I don't mean choking the dog, I mean more like the baseball version of that word. So just bringing my hand a foot or two away from the animal's neck and keeping that animal away from my body. So he can be out here, even if he's trying to bite me, likely not aware that my hand is above him. Maybe a little hard to see on the table, but you're just keeping this animal out away from your body, and that gives him very little room to move around, and it gives you pretty good control. We can use this to keep them away from our body. We're not lifting them off the ground, we're not choking them, we're just using the leash to keep them away from our body and limiting the amount of room they have to work with. All right, one more thing I want to show you is what's called a safety lead. So it's essentially what we're going to do is take one end of a double leash or double-ended leash, or you can take two different leashes, and I'll show both concepts. What we want to do is if you're using a lead that has a cord lock or any type of lock on it, you want to just sort of remove that from the equation, just take it to the far end of the leash. And we're going to connect the clip end of the leash to the slip lead ring. And what that allows us to do is when we pull on one side of the rope, it allows us to walk as usual. When we pull on the other side, it releases the leash. And again, without NACA having enough body weight, it's hard to demonstrate that, but this allows us to remove the leash from the animal without reaching in to touch the animal at all. So if you have an animal that you're a little more concerned about, in whatever way behaviorally, even if they're just very excited and very sort of in your face and jumping on you, it allows you to keep them away from your body and just release them into a vehicle or a kennel or anything else without touching them again. So you can get it on easily. So let me show you that again with NACA's body weight. Makes it a little hard. So I have this nice big loop in the middle. I could throw that over a dog's head pretty quickly and easily, and then pull on one end and I can walk. Right, and I'm holding on to him just because he doesn't weigh anything. I pull on the other end, and it takes, you know, one or two sort of movements to get it open enough, but one-handed, so I don't have to reach in there with that animal again. All right, so I can do this with disposable leashes as well. So in this case, I've got sort of the nicer one and the less nice one. So I'm going to take my smaller one and I'm going to feed it through the ring. You see the bigger one is already set up. I'm going to feed the other one through the ring. I'm going to make basically a slip lead connected to a slip lead. You can do this with two leashes that are identical, or two regular leashes even. You can take two regular clip leashes with a handle and do the same thing. There's a bunch of ways you can do this, but now I have the same thing. It's a little harder to work, so I got to sort of manually put that webbing through there. But now I'm walking with this leash. When I pull on the other, it's connected to that ring, it releases, so I get the same effect for a much lower price point. All right, so the last part of leashing that I want to cover is actually how to carry your leash. And there are a lot of different options, and you can decide for yourself what you like best. A lot of people just roll it up, stick it in a pocket or in the pocket of a backpack or something like that. But a lot of people like to carry it around their torso so that it's ready at a moment's notice. Whether you're working in a shelter or in the field, this is the thing you're going to use the most if you're working with dogs, hands down. So I've got it now. I've got the part that goes around the animal's neck is now around my torso at an angle. And then I'm going to take the clip and come back to the ring. That's one option. Different people have different body types. There's lots of ways that you can do this that's still secure. So with this particular model, I can take that trigger snap and connect directly to the rope. And because of the physics of this particular clip, it really will just hold in place anywhere. So if you're really skinny, you can go down there. And it gives you a lot of different options on where you can clip it based on what is comfortable for you. All right, let's talk about gloves for a minute. So I've got a lot of gloves on this table. We're going to go through each one of them and sort of what they're for. The single most important thing we really got to think about with gloves is that bites to the hands and arms and scratches are the most common source of injury in our industry. So the number one thing that we can do to reduce injury is wear gloves. And that's an important factor both for you as an individual who doesn't want to get hurt, who doesn't want to lose work or have permanent damage or whatever to your hands, arms, tendons, muscles, whatever. There's all these injury parts for you, and there's organizational issues for bites. But you also got to think about the animal, because if the animal hurts you, now it has a bite history or a scratch history or just an injury history or whatever, which is reportable for so many organizations. And it can have a wide variety of consequences based on the type of organization that you're working for or with. And that can be pretty severe. It could literally be a euthanasia case because the animal has a bite history. It could be limited interaction with staff members for a period of a bite quarantine, so the animal is less adoptable off the bat and is stuck in a shelter environment for longer than it would otherwise need to be. It could be limited adoption potential because of the type of injury that it's caused to the type of person that it's caused it to. So whatever we can do to reduce or eliminate those types of bites and scratches, it's a lot better for us and it's a lot better for animals as well. And it's a pretty simple thing that we can do to protect ourselves and to protect animals is just wear gloves. It's also a very professional thing for us to do because ours is just one of many industries that require the use of gloves. If you think about it, there are so many situations where police officers have to wear gloves and firefighters have to wear gloves, doctors, veterinarians in our own industry, and so on and so on. There's so many professions that require the use of gloves. And none of the people who do those jobs start off thinking, this is actually a lot easier because I'm wearing gloves. It's actually a lot easier to perform this really delicate surgery because I'm wearing these gloves. No, we're all used to doing things without gloves, and gloves are an inhibition. Initially, we have to train with gloves the same as we train with anything else. So the more used to wearing gloves you are, the more things you can do, the less it'll impact your dexterity. And I can speak from experience in that because I made a decision a long time ago that I was going to wear gloves to protect myself and to protect animals. And also, wearing gloves gives me a lot more confidence. It gives me the ability to work with animals and to try to find ways to handle them that are less impactful because it gives me more confidence and it gives me more protection. And so I don't have to worry as much about what the impacts might be if I get a little bite or something like that. That's okay because I can work with an animal confidently and get the outcome that I want to get a lot of the time. And a lot of that boils down to just the use of the correct glove. But there are a lot of gloves here, and so there are obviously a lot of variables. It is important to note that animal handling gloves are made differently than the majority of other types of gloves for other industries. So the type of glove you might buy from a hardware store is great for things like sharp metal and carrying things with rough edges and minor pinching injuries and that type of thing. And there's a place for them in our industry as well. And if that's the only thing that you can get, that is a better option than nothing. If you have the ability to have a professional animal handling glove, that is a lot more safety and a lot more protection for you because they are made specifically for animal bites. So regardless of what brand you're looking at, if you're buying it from a reputable manufacturer or distributor, they are made specifically to resist sharp force penetration and to resist abrasion both from scratches and from the environment. And the primary way that is achieved is through the use of Kevlar. That's the sort of the #1 fabric that's used throughout most of the gloves, at least that I'm aware of, is some inner layer of Kevlar that really helps to resist sharp force penetration. But it's also important to note that there is a big difference between a cat glove with very small teeth with a lot of power behind it versus a dog glove with a lot of power but a more blunt tooth. With dog gloves, you tend to get a lot more padding and protection, but a cat tooth is very frequently able to go right through a dog glove. So you got to kind of look at them in terms of small animal, like critter type glove, cat, smaller, maybe raccoon, somewhere in that category. And then of course, Petey has joined me for this section. Thank you, Petey, actually right on time. Petey's got sharp little teeth. Fortunately, he's not a biter, but that actually brings me to a really good point, is that the most common injuries are cats, are caused by cats, and they're cats that we're not expecting to be hurt by. So like Petey, I would never think that he would bite me. He does tend to climb up my body and scratch me, but that's a whole other story. But I haven't trimmed his nails yet. He's still pretty young and hasn't needed it. So I could go to trim his nails and that's the time that he bites me. So in the professional environment, it's the cat that we don't think anything is gonna happen with, a friendly cat. So I'm just gonna pick up this friendly cat and it's gonna be great. And yet I pick him up and all of a sudden that for him is a violation somehow. And now he's going to bite me or scratch me. It could be daily care. So I'm just going in to feed this animal. He seems fine. Whereas with cats that obviously are risky, are dangerous, those are cats that we're going to be more careful with, right? We're gonna put on gloves because that's clearly a dangerous cat, or I'm gonna go get a net or a trap or some other tool. So it's the animal that we don't suspect in cats, at least. With dogs, there's a much more open playing field. Be safe until you're very, very confident that the animal is safe to be around. I think that's what I'd say on that point. All right, so moving on. Petey doesn't know it yet, but he is going to be one of the stars of our trapping video soon to come, and our hands-free cat handling. But let's break these gloves into sort of, well, we did the dog and the cat category roughly. Construction-wise, we can break them down into animal hide products and sort of vegan and synthetic products. So on the animal hide, you're almost always looking at a deer hide or an elk hide, something like that, that's a more durable type of leather. Regardless of how you feel about it, that's a fact. So I think we've got animal hide on that side now and synthetics on this side. On the synthetic side, a wide range of fabrics. I don't know the names of all of them. I will briefly go through which is which, just so you know, if you see one that you like, you're able to find it. This division in the table right now is by material type, so animal and non-animal. Interestingly enough, we've almost got a division between dog and critter. So I would say dog here on my left side, sort of in between in the middle, and then cat and critter gloves on my right side. All right, so let's get started on the left side of the table here. We'll go dog glove through critter glove. So this is the rabies animal handling glove from Aces. This actually is a glove that I personally really like. I love this design. This is what I call a bite strip. This is a sacrificial piece that we can offer to an animal. So let's say there's a dog here. I can do that low and slow thing we talked about in the introductory video to this series. And this is just something that they can bite if they choose to. And that helps me understand, is this animal willing to offer a bite? And that helps me decide, like, what technique should I use for this animal? Can I leash them? Can I pick them up? And if they bite this, it's no harm, no foul. That's no bite history. That's just, they were upset, they bit this, that's no problem, didn't hurt me, didn't hurt them, everybody's good. I learned a lot, and I was very safe in that process, and I can act very confidently because I have that level of protection. So really good bite protection and scratch protection all along that glove. This is the Humaniac bite protection glove. This glove has a lot of dexterity. It's kind of a new design with sort of these lateral pads, because as an animal would bite, it's going to help to distribute the force of a bite along the glove, and it has a pretty comfortable feel. It's got these plastic knuckles or some kind of material. I'm not sure what that is, but it's hard, which is going to give you really good bite protection. And good padding all along. Some good grip surfaces and reinforcement there as well. This is the animal hide version. There is a vegan version that comes in a maroon color, so you can get either with that model. This is the premium animal handling glove from Aces. This is a good sort of multi-purpose, everyday use kind of glove. It fits really tightly. It's not cumbersome along the arm. Obviously, it doesn't protect you along the arm. Not a lot of padding, but really good dexterity. It has much more of a like hardware store type of glove, something that right from the get-go is probably going to feel more comfortable on your hand. It also has touch-enabled fingers, so if you need to get those photos for evidence or whatever, you can do that pretty well. And you'll notice as we go through, if it's my personal glove, I do label them, so I label them with my name, but I also label right and left, so that when you sort of get that tunnel vision, when you're diving into an emergency or like a dangerous animal situation, it's not something you have to think about, making sure that you put it on the right hand, and it's something that you can more quickly get the correct hand in the correct glove. So if you'll take a look at this, moving into the critter glove, so this is called the critter glove. It's basically the same glove, just with a gauntlet and without a gauntlet. So this is a great glove for everyday handling of cats. When we talk about cat handling, I'm not talking about grabbing a cat and pinning it down. That's not constructive for the cat. It's not constructive for you. There's a lot of risk for both of you. We'll do a whole video just on cat handling and zero contact, low impact, all that kind of stuff, using some pretty cool, pretty new tools. But just general purpose, even if I'm using a net or a towel to pull an animal out of somewhere, just rescue them or whatever. General purpose. If I take a small bite incidentally in the course of some part of my work, all of these are pretty good gloves for that. I like this one. It has good fit, good dexterity. Honestly, the same is true for most of these. So just moving through the list, this is the Bite Buster. This is a fully synthetic glove, and this is the most protection that you can get really across any of the gloves, but it comes at a cost of dexterity. It is hard for me to close my hand, so you have to think about that, but very good protection. So if you're dealing a lot with cats that are prone to bite and scratch, and you're frequently handling those animals, and you're likely going to be getting a lot of bites. I've taken a lot of bites in this glove. It's a really good glove. I think it's a 22-inch gauntlet. There's padding, some padding, at least heavy padding in the hand, less along the gauntlet, and then less here, but it's just that one claw that gets out there. So it just protects you all the way down. Good reinforcement here, and that's both for bite, but also for scratch. So if an animal is scratching you, the claws tend to get bound up in that grip surface, which prevents them from flailing as much. So it does make a difference. This is the Armor Hand. As far as fit, this is my favorite glove because, as the saying goes, it fits like a glove. It is very, very true to size. I have a medium hand. This fits very snugly in a good way. I like what I can do with this glove, but still good protection, still got that synthetic reinforcement. Just a really solid glove. Also has the size listed on. That's important if they're not your personal gloves. If they're gloves that are hanging up in a shelter or in a vehicle that multiple people use, having the right size is important because you don't want to end up with grabbing the wrong size of glove in the middle of an emergency. If you've got an extra large hand and you grab a small glove, it's not going to work well. Let's talk about the Bite Guard synthetic glove from Tomahawk. Good glove. Very versatile, I'd say. Good dexterity across, reinforcement along all the primary surfaces. Again, a synthetic build. Not a lot of padding, so if you take a heavy bite from an animal, you're going to feel that. Less likely to penetrate, but still there's going to be bruising, and that's the fact with any glove. This is not a well-padded glove, but none of the critter gloves are. None of those sort of cat and other small mammal gloves are. This is the V Pro. So again, another vegan offering, as were both of these. Again, another very hardware store glove type of feel. This is a great counterpoint to the animal hide offering here. Good blend of padding and protection and scratch resistance, good gauntlet, has just a very comfortable feel on the hand. You could take any hardware store glove and replace it with this and not even know what the difference was. All right, so there are a lot of gloves. We've gone through this whole big pile. Again, the number one thing to know is that gloves will keep you safe. They will keep animals safe. They'll make you a more confident handler. Reducing bites and scratches is in everybody's best interest. All right, the last thing I want to cover with gloves is how to wash them. So you are going to sweat in gloves if you wear them in the summer or when doing heavy labor. You want to disinfect that maybe with some Lysol, something like that. It is hard to dry out the inside of the glove, no doubt. But you don't want to fill them with water when you wash them either. So if you need to wash them because they've got blood on them or whatever, put them on. Wash your hands in the sink like you normally would, and then hang them up to dry. Don't put them away wet. They'll get mold on them pretty quickly, just like anything else would. So wear them, wash your hands, and then remove them. Generally speaking, scent on a pair of gloves is not that big of a deal. At worst, it's usually a distraction to an animal. They're sniffing it instead of working on building a relationship with you. But you don't want a lot of organic matter on there, from wherever it comes from, whatever we're talking about here. You want to keep them clean. You don't want them to get bacteria, mold, and whatever on them. So keep them clean. Gloves obviously are a form of fomite, which is any object that can transfer disease from one place or animal to another. And that's a reality. So some of the gloves that are more smooth are easier to clean, but none of these are you going to be able to completely sterilize. So that's a fact. They are very resistant to any of the less aggressive types of cleaners, your accelerated hydrogen peroxides, things like that. So there are a lot of things you can do to keep them clean, but wash them regularly, both for your health and safety and for that of the animals that you work with. kind of divide these two. All right, dude, you gotta go. he's too cute, but not helpful, man. Not helpful.